to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to set my timer. Can you all hear me? Just pro tip. I'm sounding like I know what I'm doing. This is the very first time I've ever been on stage. Normally, see, there you go. I don't know what I'm doing. But here's my contact info in case you're interested in getting in touch after or during the conference. And I want to say thank you to James and Saffron for having me. We are a captioning company, a small niche company, and we specialize in captioning tech conferences. In 2018, we captioned 159 tech conferences in 14 countries. That may even be more than the number of conferences that you all have attended in the last year. It's pretty cool. We also caption medical school and other graduate school classes and special events like commencement ceremonies and tech and medical meetings, etc. In other words, we specialize in captioning all the things that have the most, they are the most jargon-heavy events. We do that. I'll talk a little bit more about that later as to why we specialize. But first, I want to tell you a little bit more about me. I come from a small but mighty state in the US called Vermont, where we're known for our stunning autumn foliage, maple syrup and Ben & Jerry's. And who knew, but of a particular interest to James, apparently, also Hetty Topper. If I'd known, I might have smuggled a little in my suitcase on the way over. It's the kind of thing that you have to stand in line and, on Tuesdays in your local shop in order to get a few cans. But we're also famous for this. Right now, I'm so happy to be here because I'm escaping the polar vortex that's happening at home. My poor husband, I'd ask for like a moment of silence. My poor husband and my poor Yorkie, Mr. Jeffries, are back there suffering. They're coping. I asked my husband in a text last night, how are you coping with the weather? He said, I'm coping, but I'm tired of it. So I feel a little bit privileged to be here for that reason as well. But yeah, it feels weird being on the stage because I'm normally over there somewhere doing what Andrew is doing at the moment. So if I start, if you see my hands start to twitch, just ignore it. So, but why am I here? And of course there is a story. In my early career, I was a court stenographer, or a court reporter, as we call it. These are pictures of actual steno notes that I took in 1982. Yes, I am that old. Yeah, you're so sweet, Bruce. That represents, each one of those stacks represents a day in a murder trial. And we wrote them on stenography paper. And at the end, we would take it out and transcribe it, read the steno code. You can see this is what the code looks like. Nowadays, this code is on our computer screen, and the computer reads it. But it used to be that we would read it and type it, old school stenography. So that all typed up, that would represent about 1,200 pages of transcript, things that lawyers and the appeals court would use to read later to find out what happened in the trial. It was written on a machine that looks like this, manual machine. The actual mechanical movement of the keys as we wrote pushed the paper forward into a tray in the back. In the mornings, we'd come in and we'd ink the platen. And then at lunchtime, we'd ink it again because the ink with the markings would start to get a bit faint. The technology, as you can imagine, has come quite far, and we'll talk more about that later. Also, how did I get here? In 1993, I was recruited by the BBC to come and be a part of the first subtitling team here in London. and to develop the subtitling program. And what I mean by that is the live subtitling program. These were, it was intended to be for late-breaking news, things that didn't have time to be pre-subtitled. So Andrew and I, that's where I met Andrew. We were a part of that first team. He was my mentor when I first arrived to train. So thanks, Andrew. I'm basically here now, and my life was changed forever because of that experience. There's quite a lot of additional training to become a captioner from being a court reporter. It's a different use of the stenography language, and you basically have to relearn everything that you unlearn and then relearn, in order to do things in real time. And the reason for that is, at a very basic example, is in the old days we would write homonyms all the same. There, they are. And we would know in context later when we transcribed it how to make a difference. But now, of course, we're writing to the computer, and computers are very literal. So it has to be, we have to memorize a lot and write things differently for the computer. My first boss, I'm going to see if I'm... oh yes, I remember those years with such fondness, and I was really, really sad when I learned that this building is gone now. John Major was the Prime Minister. So in addition to me learning to become a captioner after having been a court reporter for 13 years, I had to learn all that stuff. I also had to learn British spellings, British politics, British mannerisms, everything. But it was really good times. And I remember fondly a 27-page single-spaced document that my boss at the time gave me to try to understand the game of cricket. Didn't work. Whenever I was meant to be captioning cricket, I would be sick that day or something. So speaking of that boss, I asked him for a testimonial for my website, and among some other nice things, this is what he wrote. Norma was one of the pioneers of real-time captioning in the UK. And I love that. That's really nice, but there's something about that word pioneer. Just it makes me feel a little bit old. But recently, I was at a party, and I made this statement. It was completely without irony. I'm going to read it for those who can't read it. I have never had an original thought. The people who were with me thought that was hilarious, and I went, I didn't realize I was being funny, but it's because I write down other people's thoughts all day, every day. So it is quite weird to be, again, it's quite weird to be up here on this stage and having Andrew writing my words. I feel like it's backwards day or something. A little aside, we love when our audiences interact with us a little bit, right, Andrew? Like when Bruce was having fun with him. Bruce this morning, who I will forever call Bruce, that's 2 T's, Andrew Lawson. But of course, our real job and our real focus is on getting all the words. A little side part of our journey. When I was preparing for this talk, I was so excited to see Ben Fletcher's name on the list. Ben and I first met Ben about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, when I was captioning a conference in Brighton. And after the conference, he sent out this tweet. Do you remember it, Ben? It says, FFConf has just, in a single day, changed me as a person. We can become good tech friends of so many more people than I had thought, made possible to dazzling captioning. And so I printed that out. It's encased in gold, and it's in my safety deposit box at home. A lot of my talk was very repetitious after following all the speakers, being the penultimate speaker in a conference like this. So just before lunch, I cut out about a third. so that we could A, get back on track a little bit with the time, and B, I think you're smart people. You've got it. It helps everyone. But there were a couple of points that weren't mentioned that I will just mention now. Another good reason to have captioning for your conference. The text files that we create can be used for captioning the videos after the conference. That's a biggie. They can also be used for searchable data. If you've ever tried to search for something on a video, not easy. Search for a word in a transcript, a keyword, there you go. Many of our clients, that's like the thing that gets them over the hump to decide, yeah, we can afford this. So how is it done? It's not magic. I like to sometimes pretend it is, but it isn't. We use stenography machines that are the newest version, much newer version than the one I showed you before. They're very ergonomic. They're very lovely to work on. But contrary to popular expectation, the software that we use is not automated. It is not predictive text that we fix up. That would be like the nightmare day of us trying to work. But it is a kind of code. It is not even a kind of, not without the qualifier. It is a code that we write, and it is only as good as the data that we put in it. I think that those of you who are coders or designers will understand exactly what I mean by that. So speaking of steno, we're going to go a little bit meta here, and then later we're going to have a hands-on workshop if you'd like to come and see what it feels like to work these machines. Writing on these machines I like to liken to much more like playing a piano, playing chords on a musical instrument than actual typing. We're writing code, and we're pressing several keys at a time. This is what the keyboard would look like if we had letters printed on our keyboard, but we don't because it wouldn't really be meaningful to us, because the code that we write is not really relatable to these actual letters. This is the way we put our hands on the keys. The consonants for the beginnings of words are on the left-hand side of the keyboard, consonants and consonant sounds. The consonants for the right-hand side, for the ending of words or phrases are on the right-hand side of the keyboard. The vowels are in the middle, and we hit them with our thumbs. It's a system based on phonetics. This is an example that my colleague Mirabai put on this slide, but we'll tell you a little bit more about that as well. I'm giving you another clean look at the keyboard to get yourself orientated with it. You could see that the letters, what they are. Those letters actually represent themselves at the base, and I'll get into more later. What this image is missing is at the top we have a thing called the number bar, and when we hit that together with some of these letters, it does actually create numerals on our keyboard, so we have use of numbers as well. So now that you've looked at that a little bit, I'm going to give you a kindergartner's lesson of steno. I've circled in red some keys, S, T, A, R, T. You can see them. They are literal. They mean themselves. And you write the word start. Where it gets a little trickier is when we write groups of letters and read them as other letters. So there's a T and a K there. Written by themselves, they can be a T and they could be a K sound, a K sound, a hard K sound. If you stroke the two of them together, they still look like TK written together on the paper or on the computer, but we read it and the computer reads it as a D sound or a D. There's the letter A, a short A in the middle that our thumb uses, and the RB on the right, when stroked together, we read as a sh sound. So you've written the word dash. It gets a little more complicated because if you want the punctuation mark dash, you have to write that differently. If you want, say someone's surname is Dash with a capital D, you have to write that differently. And say someone's first name is Dashel or Dash that's spelled D-A-C-H-E, for example. All of those, we just have to memorize the way that we've told the computer to read it and write it, recall it we write 4 to 6 strokes per second. So there's a lot of concentration, there's a lot of recall. And when you do your own programming, which there is a little bit of programming to make your own dictionary, when you're doing that, you have to make it make sense to you personally. So whatever you can do to make no hesitation. And we're kind of accurate for the most part. Most people ask, how are you so accurate? How do you know all that industry-specific jargon? Is it autocorrect? Is it predictive text? That's a big no. That would actually be harder. And I can explain that a little bit longer. And if you've been watching Andrew right along, you can see that he keeps up word by word by word. He keeps up word, 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 like that. Artificial intelligence, well, maybe not. Maybe not so much today, but okay, most days. With artificial intelligence, it's trying to make sense of blocks of words. So it comes out in blurbs, and then it realizes maybe it's made a mistake. It goes back, it backs up, it tries to fix it, and then it falls farther and farther behind. I like to think of it as, is anyone familiar with the old film clip of Lucille Ball and the Chocolate Factory? Where she's, when things starts going faster and she's, it's all going everywhere. That's kind of what happens with, at the moment anyway, with artificial intelligence trying to keep up. So that's why we're superior. And why are we so accurate in my company is because of specialization. We really narrow the scope of what it is that we caption. We love tech. We love medical. Other captioners hate it, and if they get stuck in doing it, they do a bad job, and of course then they hate it even more. So it takes a lot of memorization, practice, preparation, research, but also because we specialize, and we do, on average, a tech conference every 2 or 3 days. And when I say we, most teams involve me personally as well, but I have an amazing team of people. Andrew's my #1 person on this side of the pond. We have a larger group of people in America, and we have 1 person in Asia. It's a really small field. Again, like my state, the state that I come from, small but mighty. You might be asking, isn't it awfully expensive? And so here's the thing. Quality captioning is not exactly cheap. Captioners, usually ones who can do it well and at this level, are quite rare. So we're in high demand, and we're paid commensurate with our level of talent, skill, and the supply and demand. Our equipment and software is kind of expensive as well, and it costs money. So here's what you can do. You can add an extra 3, 4, 5 pounds to every ticket price, and that will really help your captioning budget. And that even includes, in most cases, for an average size conference, that would include our travel budget and everything. Or even better, maybe you could make it a priority in the beginning, build it into the original budget from the ground up, get accessibility or diversity sponsors. Sponsors love to sponsor something that's very visible and high quality and makes them look good, then the conference looks good, everybody's happy. So with that said, I'd like to take another moment to plug our accessibility sponsor for today. Thank you, Salesforce. You're amazing. You're awesome, awesome. And remember, live captioning makes your conference more awesome. Thank you.
It's like when you wake up in the morning,